What if the person you trusted the most, the one you thought you knew inside and out, was hiding a dark secret? Dexter Morgan, a seemingly ordinary man, was a serial killer living a double life. For years, he managed to keep his deadly secret buried beneath the surface. But what happens when people start to uncover the truth? From family to friends, detectives to lovers, everyone who discovered Dexter's chilling secret paid a heavy price. This is the story of everyone who learned the truth about Dexter and didn't make it out alive. The lights in Miami flickered as Dexter Morgan, a man whose life was defined by darkness, continued to hide his grim secret. A serial killer for years, Dexter kept his double life concealed from everyone, his friends, family, and colleagues, while secretly targeting criminals who slipped through the justice system. Yet, throughout the years, 15 people discovered the truth about Dexter's deadly secret, each one caught in the web of his double life. This story isn't about the ones who never had the chance to speak, those who ended up wrapped in plastic, but the ones who knew and how each of them met their fates. The first person who discovered Dexter's darkest truth was his adoptive father, Harry Morgan. A seasoned Miami homicide detective, Harry recognized something in young Dexter that was chilling: dark tendencies that no child should have. After witnessing Dexter kill animals as a child, Harry knew that his son was on a path to destruction. Rather than turning Dexter in or seeking help, Harry made a choice to protect him from the world, and the world from him. He created the Code of Harry, a set of rules that would channel Dexter's urges into killing those who truly deserved it. Dexter followed this code, becoming a notorious figure in Miami, but it wasn't without consequence. When Harry accidentally witnessed Dexter dismembering his first victim, the shock was too much for him to bear. Stricken by guilt and horror, Harry ended his life 3 days later, leaving Dexter to continue his deadly path. But Harry's legacy wasn't easily forgotten. The code he created stayed with Dexter, becoming the moral framework that guided his every move. It was this code that would both define Dexter's actions and ultimately lead to the unraveling of his secret, as more and more people discovered the truth. The second person to discover Dexter's secret was his biological brother, Brian Moser. Their shared childhood trauma, witnessing their mother's brutal murder and being left to suffer in a shipping container with her dismembered body, fueled a dark connection between the two. While Dexter was adopted by Harry and taught to control his dark urges, Brian was abandoned by the system, allowing his violent tendencies to flourish unchecked. When Brian found Dexter years later, he was thrilled to discover that his brother shared his need to kill. Brian, known as the Ice Truck Killer, sought to deepen their bond by asking Dexter to kill their sister, Deb. But Dexter, bound by the code, chose to protect Deb, making the heartbreaking decision to kill Brian instead. Despite this, Dexter couldn't shake the bond with his brother. The death of Brian left Dexter feeling both a sense of relief and overwhelming loss. His life was becoming a never-ending cycle of guilt and violence, with each person he killed only reinforcing his belief that he was a man doomed to live in darkness. And yet, Dexter carried on, continuing his quest to serve justice in his own way. But as more people started to piece together his secret, the weight of his double life began to take its toll. Detective James Doakes was the third person to uncover Dexter's secret. A seasoned cop with sharp instincts, Doakes always suspected something was off about Dexter. His suspicions grew when he noticed Dexter's eerie composure at crime scenes, where others were disturbed by the carnage. Determined to expose Dexter, Doakes went as far as breaking into his apartment and stealing a box of blood slides, clear evidence of Dexter's killings. The investigation reached its peak when Doakes confronted Dexter at a remote cabin, only for Dexter to imprison him in a cage. But fate intervened, and Doakes became another unintended victim when LaGuerta blew up the cabin, believing it would protect Dexter. This marked a turning point for Dexter, who had always relied on the code to guide him. LaGuerta, too, would play a significant role in the discovery of Dexter's secret. As an ambitious Miami Metro lieutenant, LaGuerta had been investigating the Bay Harbor butcher case, which she suspected Dexter was involved in. When she found a blood slide at a crime scene linked to Dexter, she took the investigation further, eventually uncovering the truth. But Dexter, always one step ahead, framed her for fabricating evidence, making her pursuit of him her last mistake. Dexter had to take drastic measures to protect himself, and he did so in a shocking way. He manipulated the situation, staging her death to appear as if she had been killed in a crossfire. Lagerda's relentless pursuit of the truth ended in her own demise, becoming yet another victim of Dexter's deadly double life. Then there was Lumen Pierce, a woman who, despite discovering Dexter's truth, chose to accept him. Lumen, a survivor of horrific trauma, witnessed Dexter killing one of her attackers and was initially fearful of him. But over time, she came to see Dexter as a kindred spirit, someone who could help her get revenge on those who had harmed her. Their bond grew, eventually turning into a romantic relationship. Lumen was the first person to truly accept Dexter for who he was, someone who was both a killer and a man struggling to live a life beyond his dark impulses. Yet when their mission for vengeance was complete, Lumen left Dexter, unable to live with his need for violence. Dexter, heartbroken, was left to face the truth that true companionship would always elude him. He had become so wrapped in his code and his need to kill that he couldn't see a way out. Lumen's departure only reinforced his belief that he could never escape his darkness. As the years went on, Dexter's secret was slowly uncovered by others, each person discovering the truth in their own way. From Miguel Prado, a charismatic district attorney who saw Dexter as a trusted ally, to Isaac Serco, a powerful mob boss seeking revenge. All of them saw Dexter for what he truly was, a man who lived by his own code and killed without remorse. But none of them were prepared for the consequences of knowing the truth. Miguel Prado, who initially saw Dexter as an ally, soon found himself spiraling into a thirst for violence that Dexter could not control. Miguel, a district attorney, partnered with Dexter to kill criminals who slipped through the justice system. But when Miguel murdered an innocent woman, Dexter knew that he had to stop him. Their relationship ended in a tragic confrontation, with Miguel ultimately losing his life at Dexter's hands. The most tragic of these discoveries came from Deborah Morgan, Dexter's adoptive sister. Deborah had always been close to Dexter, but she never knew the depths of his darkness. That was until she walked in on him at a church altar, mid-murder, and her worst fears were confirmed. Her brother was a serial killer. Deborah struggled to reconcile this painful truth with the love she had always had for him. Their relationship would never be the same, and she would live with the haunting knowledge that her brother's true identity was a dark, unspeakable secret. Deborah's confrontation with Dexter set the stage for her own downfall, as she could not fully come to terms with the fact that the man she loved as a brother was, in truth, a monster. And then there was Zach Hamilton, a young man who shared Dexter's dark impulses. When Zach found out Dexter's secret, Dexter saw something of himself in him. Rather than killing Zach, Dexter became his mentor, teaching him the code and instilling a sense of responsibility for his actions. But Zach's time as Dexter's mentee was cut short when he became a victim of the brain surgeon, a man whose understanding of Dexter's dark side ultimately led to his death. Finally, there was Oliver Saxon, also known as the brain surgeon, a man who uncovered Dexter's secret through careful observation and hacking into Dr. Vogel's files. Saxon, driven by jealousy, became obsessed with Dexter's ability to maintain his perfect cover. Their final confrontation ended in Dexter killing Saxon, avenging Deb's death and bringing his violent journey to a close. In the end, the story of Dexter Morgan was one of darkness, acceptance, and the consequences of living a double life. Everyone who knew Dexter discovered his secret in one way or another, and most of them paid the ultimate price for it. Yet, through it all, Dexter remained steadfast in his commitment to his code. In a world filled with shadows, Dexter was a man who lived between the lines, and for those who discovered the truth, the consequences were inevitable. If this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe for more stories that inspire, challenge, and remind us of what truly matters.